Welcome to weeks 7 and 8, legs, glutes, and rear delt single sets. So remember, for this workout, you want to be working in a rep range of 8 to 12 repetitions, maxing out on your last rep and resting intuitively in between. First, after your warm-up of 5 to 10 minutes of cardio of your choosing, you're going to roll out your glutes on a foam roller such as this. So I'm sitting on the foam roller on my side, and then I intensify this movement by crossing my leg over my knee. Now that is more of an advanced position, and if you have really tight glutes, you probably don't want to do that. So just start here, and here is the advanced alternative. As you get more and more blood flow into your glutes, try and work towards this. Be gentle, be mindful. This does roll out all of the fascial adhesions, and it really helps cellulite and really helps to activate and engage your glutes. So be mindful, breathe. If you've never done this before, it does hurt. It's totally normal. And try and make this a weekly practice, a few times a week as well. Alright, next up we're going to do another pre-activation movement. This is a quadruped hip extension. Now quadruped just means on hands and knees. We are working from one knee and your elbows if you can, trying to be as crouched down as possible, or you can push up to your hands, modify as you need to. Now obviously the more advanced you get and the more glute muscles you are able to activate, you can go more and more crouched down. This is a movement you can do to determine whether or not your glutes are actually firing. So if you do this movement and it's really hard to lift your leg, just modify by bringing your upper body up and doing your best to consciously contract that muscle beforehand. So do 15 to 20 repetitions both sides. And then first up, we're going to go into some deadlifts. Now this is a wide, stiff-legged sumo deadlift. So legs are nice and wide, sumo stance, so toes are turned out, and stiff-legged, so the knee barely bends, the upper body hinges forward from those hips. See how my body weight and my hips are shifting back, and my knee tries to stay as straight as possible, not locked out entirely, but as straight as possible. So I'm barely using my knee joint here. That's what makes it a stiff-legged movement, whereas the other demonstration is a conventional deadlift where we are bending into the knee a little bit more. So we're going to play around with stances, with different angles, bending or straightening the knee to activate different muscle fibers and the glutes in many, many different ways. Now, bring your feet closer on these reps, and this is a conventional deadlift. So as you can see, I am allowing myself to bend into my knee a little bit more. So the stiff-legged deadlift will really make you stretch out your hamstrings. This one won't place so much emphasis on your hamstrings, but it will still tone your whole posterior chain. So 1 to 3 sets of the stiff-legged wide sumo deadlifts and 1 to 3 sets of this conventional narrow stance deadlift. So we're going to take a break from lower body movements just to allow those muscles to recover and work our rear delts. Now this is a high pulley cable cross rear delt fly. So you want to position the cables high, and the cables are crossing. As you can see, I'm not using handle attachments. I am actually holding on to that cable. I prefer this to grabbing the handles. You have more control, and the handles kind of flop around and they can stress your wrist. So use lighter weight than you would expect so that you do have complete control and you're not going to risk overcompensating by elevating your scapula. And then once you do one set of high pulley, adjust the cables to just above shoulder height, rest in between as you need, and then do another set. And then this time, try and switch up whatever hand was on top to the bottom so that you're not consistently training one way, so you keep your body balanced. So once again, resting intuitively, taking your time to get into the proper position. As you can see, I adjust, I do one set and I feel it out, and then I adjust as necessary. And really making sure you're pressing your shoulder blades down and back. This one's really challenging. These three together are really, really challenging. And just make sure that you're breathing and stay focused on a strong concentric contraction and a nice and slow eccentric contraction. Keeping your legs slightly bent, abs tight, glutes tight. Then after that, rest as you need to. This last one, the bent over cable cross rear delt flies, is really hard. I could only actually do 6 or 8 of these. They were just really challenging. I didn't rest in between as well. I could have, and I would have had more strength to do this one. And then in this workout, I do all of these workouts myself, and these are inspired by my workouts. I actually, later on, I came back to this move and did my second set of the 3 different positions. I may have even done 2 more of those. I can't quite remember, but man, did it really hit my rear delts. It felt really good to challenge them from these new angles and switch it up. So beginners, 1 set of each of those, intermediate and advanced, 2 to 3, resting as you need to. Next up, we're going to do an elevated split squat. You should remember this from one of the prior videos, one of my faves, because once again, it tones the quads without building bulk, and it really focuses on the hamstrings and the glutes as it stretches your back hip. So that is why I love this movement. If you are modifying because of your knees, just hold on to something or do one of those more shallow lunges. And beginners, 2 sets, resting as you need to, intermediate and advanced, 3 to 4. All right, next up we have a sumo dumbbell squat. Now, if you're doing the gym alternative, you can include this with the next move, which is the leg press, or you can skip this. It really is up to you. This will add more length to your workout, so do what you feel inspired to do that day. If you're at home, this is your leg press alternative. So you want to make sure your upper body stays upright as your hips go down and back, and you push your knees out, pushing into your heels, toes are out. Really squeeze your glutes hard at the top, making those inner and outer thighs work right here. Squeezing your abs as well. You'll really feel that in your abs. So beginners, 2 sets, intermediate and advanced, 3 to 4. All right, gym goers, here we go. Leg press machine with the calf press at the end. So feet are as wide as you can, toes slightly turned out, not a lot. And once again, do 1 repetition and see and feel how that alignment feels for you. So you don't want your knee going past your toe. You want to make sure you feel this in your glutes, not your quads. So make sure there's a natural arch in your low back so that you're not pushing your low back into the bench, and that your feet are wide and your feet are positioned on that platform properly enough where you can really work into your glutes, because that's what you want. And then once you've done the 1 set, then move right into your calf press and go till failure, making sure you push into your big toe only. That's the main thing that is important with the calf press. And you want to get a good stretch right there. All right, next up, after all of that leg work, back to those rear delts. So face pulls with a rope or a band. You can position or fixate that band into a door frame. That would really help. And I started with my palms pointing down and my thumbs turned in. You can play around with your palm position on this one. So you can see how I'm positioned with my feet. That allows me to really have a strong position with my body. You will find that you kind of have to resist that weight with your whole body as you do these. I like to be sort of on an incline position with my foot as a kickstand behind me. And now here I am doing this one with my thumbs up. And now the only trick with this one is you don't want to squeeze your shoulder blades together. You actually want to try and keep the width between your spine and your shoulder blades as you focus on bringing the elbow back and contracting your rear delt. So, and then just a little lower, not too low, and this is a slight upward motion. Once again, not squeezing those shoulder blades together. And as you can see, I turn my palms down once again and just changed up my grip on that rope attachment. Pulling up, squeezing at the top, nice slow contraction on the release. One set beginners, resting in between, intermediate and advanced, 2 to 3, resting in between as you need to. Next up, we have one of my faves. These next 3 are my faves. So you can do this on the ground. You just won't have the full range of motion, or a bench or a chair or your couch. So your knees are apart, weight is between those feet, and you're squeezing up as you push your knees out and push your hips down into that bench or couch or chair or the ground, wherever you are. Squeeze at the top, and then X-rep pulse at the end of this set for the same amount of reps you did in your working set. All right, after you've done whatever sets you chose and rested, we're going to do another variation, the hamstring dumbbell curl. So this time you want your knees and legs relatively straight and close together, and you're curling up to activate those glutes and hams. As you curl up, push your hips down into that bench or chair or floor, wherever you're working. And really focus on the conscious contraction, breathing into those muscles. And our last variation of this movement, because everyone wants a nice booty, we're going to do a bent leg glute ham raise with the knee tap at the top. So it's essentially the first move, and then tap your knees at the top, and then flare your knees again and squeeze each part of that motion. It is very challenging. So lift, knee tap. Oh, and I dropped it right here. So that does happen. I just included this so that you can see that even I'm not perfect, and you just modify and go along and do your best. And that was a really great way to continue on. So lift, knee tap, squeeze, and then slowly lower with control. So rest, stretch, repeat as needed, and that is your leg workout.